And so they practice. Alani and Sherry find themselves sweating in a clearing in the woods. They put up the barrier just like how the book read. It is a barrier specifically for hiding magic. Gormandizing Gazi won't be able to find them while they are training. Training seems to affect each girl differently. While Alani grows in her confidence wielding magic, Sherry is still very much more hesitant. This has always been the dynamic. Alani is the bold one and Sherry stays back and observes. They met in their first year of school. Sherry was a timid child known for being interested in monster kind and folk creatures. A couple of boys thought it would be funny if they led her into a cavern in the woods on a lie that a merfolk was trapped in there and needed help. When she fell a little too deep into the cavern, the boys panicked and ran. It wasn't the authorities who found Sherry. Alani had overheard the boys who went into hiding in a playhouse in one of the parks near her home. She had went into her garage to find rope and supplies and ventured out into the woods for the cavern. By the time the boys had confessed to their failed prank, firefighters and police had found Sherry being carried out of the woods on the back of Alani. All 4 of the children were punished. The boys were for tricking Sherry into a dangerous situation, Sherry for going into the woods when she was told the woods is one of the places she is not allowed to go without an adult, and Alani for not telling her parents anything when she came home for the rope and supplies. Alani's reasoning was it was quicker just doing it herself instead of waiting for the authorities. And while she was right, the adults didn't want any other children to get any ideas. Alani had to be punished, though the newspapers called her a hero. Alani sees Sherry struggling, and though she wants to continue herself, she doesn't think it's wise to push her friend. She suggests they go back into town and get something to drink. Sherry agrees. On the way back into town, both girls start to notice the hearts and the silhouettes of cherubs. They make their way into a small diner, one that has been with the town since its founding. For its age, it's remarkably kept up. And even though it's been through many hands, under many names, the style of it hasn't changed since its conception. So anytime Alani and Sherry enter what is currently being called nostalgias, they feel like they've been taken out of time and put back to some bygone decade. They always thought it was cool when they were little, the idea of time traveling, but now, having experienced it to some extent, they can't wait for this ordeal to be over. As the drinks arrive, Sherry turns to Alani and asks what the lore of Valentine's Day is. Alani takes a sip as her thoughts echo back to her grandfather's telling of the story. When humans had just started out, they didn't know how to get along with each other. They were timid and afraid in their early years. One day, a female human called Valin caught sight of another female human called Entine and couldn't turn away. She was transfixed on the other human and followed her everywhere. Entine didn't know what to make of this behavior and was frightened, thinking Valin was stalking her like how she had seen the big animal stalk the smaller ones in the forest. And so Entine always ran and hid from Valin. Valin, devastated, went crying to any god who would listen. She wept and wailed that she just wanted to braid Entine's hair and run in the meadows with her and eat flowers with her. She wanted to share in her favorite hiding spots and give away her secrets to her. She begged to know why Entine despised her so. A god appeared and told her Entine simply misunderstood her intentions. That far back in history, the humans had gathered themselves into small groups and had all decided on different ways of living. So, in Berlin's group, what Intine saw as stalking wasn't so unusual. It was perceived as wanting to get closer, but not too close if the other person didn't want to get close. The guard told Berlin that Intine's group used singing. Berlin would have to sing her intent to Intine. Nervous and with a shaky voice, from peeking behind a tree, Berlin sung to Intine. And, having listened seriously to Berlin's off-tune confession, Intine sung back. For a more modern age, being sung to from the forest by a woman who has been stalking you for weeks is understandably not romantic and highly concerning. But at the beginning of human history, this was a sweet, sincere gesture. The reason it was marked in the history books and made into a holiday was because it was the earliest noted romance between two different settlements of humans. And there was a concern amongst the gods that if the humans stayed too divided for too long, they would never get along. Sherry and Alani finished their drinks and called it a day. On and off they would train, waiting for the next time they would see the slime monster. On the dawn of Valentine's Day, cherubs descend from the sky. Cherubs are later folk creatures made by the gods to help broken hearts mend and help lonely hearts find love. As the decorations around town continue to shift, the cherubs flutter around the sky in the bloom of sunrise. They travel back and forth as though on the hunt for something. One of them stops. It pulls an arrow from its quiver and notches it. The cherub takes its time lining up its shot before releasing its grip just enough for the arrow to fly. A well is shot back in return, and out into the morning light he saunters, gormandizing Gazi. He paces the middle of the street before taking his stand against the cherub fleet. Alani and Sherry hide under an awning a ways down the street, unsure if they should act. Most people are indoors at this hour, keeping the street clear of townsfolk. The girls are the only ones watching this unfold. A hail of hot-tipped arrows flood the street, their points piercing into the cement. At first, Gazi is able to dodge, weaving his fluid body in between the shots. He lets out a howl when one slices through one of his left legs. In a rage, he rips the arrow from the ground and hurls it with all his might. Gazi misses his target, and this leads into a greater rage that has him chunking every arrow he can get a hold of. In the slime monster's blind wrath, he scales the nearest building and lunges himself at the cherubs, attacking them in the sky. Gazi jumps cherub to cherub, ripping wings and catching arrows in mid-air. Having killed the last of them in reach, the monster tumbles from the sky, watching what's left of the cherub fleet retreat back beyond the clouds. The cherubs Gazi was able to kill have already burst into a shimmering dust of hearts and magic. The monster slams into the street, a concrete cracking thud. The girls, having forgotten everything they had practiced, flee into the closest alley, leaving Gazi to lap up what little magic lingers and to lick his wounds from the fall. As the girls run, Alani watches the decorations turn from pinks and reds to orange and blacks, reminding her it is still Halloween.